this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a fresh flower arrangement, and this is just in time for Mother's Day. So if you want to put one together, just follow along. So let's get to crafting. Alright, so I'm going to need some fresh flowers. And here I have a bunch that I have purchased at Sam's. Of course, you can get your fresh flowers from anywhere you prefer. Alright, so we obviously want some sort of a container for our flowers, and I've picked this pretty ceramic pot here. This is a nice vase, and it is sealed so that it can hold water. So you want to make sure that it can hold water. Alright, so we're going to need 1 brick of wet foam or Oasis. This just happens to be the brand and name that I got at Hobby Lobby. You can purchase them pretty much like Walmart or Michael's. This was a package of 4 that I got. I've already taken one out. You just want to make sure that it does say for use with wet or fresh flowers. Alright, and this is completely optional. I've got some green moss. You can use Spanish moss if that's what you prefer. But this is what I happen to grab, and I might use a little bit of this. Alright, you're also going to need a floral waterproof tape. This just happens to be a clear one that I grabbed at Hobby Lobby. You can find them in a green also, maybe even in a brown, but you just want to make sure that it is a waterproof tape for use in these floral arrangements. Alright, I also have some scissors and a little knife here, and I've got some alcohol, which is also an optional item to use. But we're going to need this to cut our stems and cut our foam to size to fit into our container. And this is just to make sure that our instruments are clean. Alright, so you're going to want a little bucket or some sort of a container that you can fill with some water. And then you're going to place your Oasis brick inside and let that absorb for at least an hour. Mine's been here for a couple of days. I meant to do this video sooner, but this is where I'm at now. But anyway, this brick is now super heavy and full of water. Now, when I put this in there and put water in there, I didn't fill it all the way up to the top. I only did maybe halfway up, the brick. And look at that, you guys. It is heavy with absorbed water in it, and that is what you want. Okay, so the next step for me to do is to make sure my tools or my instruments are nice and clean. So I'm just using some alcohol, like I mentioned, and we're gonna just clean them. I use the scissors on so many different things that I want to make sure that they're nice and clean, so that my fresh flowers last me a little bit longer. So make sure you use clean instruments, and of course you want to make sure you dry them really well. You can just let them air dry, the alcohol will evaporate. Alright, I've also gone ahead and rinsed out the inside of my vase, and I'm just making sure there's it's all nice and cleaned out. It doesn't have to be dry because we're gonna add a wet Oasis brick into it. Okay, so I've got my container here, and I've got my Oasis, and I want the Oasis to fit into my container. Let me try first this way, because I think that if I cut it, I can add another little piece in there. Okay, so I'm going to go at the lowest point of my vase, which is like about right here, this one right here, and use that as a measurement to where I'm going to trim my Oasis. And by the way, I also went ahead and I just kind of wiped my table with some of that alcohol, just to get rid of any dust that might be on it. Okay, so we're going to slice this like so, and just put it into your container. And I have another piece, and I think that'll fit in there, but let me go ahead and carve out the little corners so it slides in there. I don't want it to fall all the way in, that's why I left these unsliced. So just move that one aside a little bit, and we'll push that in, and it all fits nice and snug. So let me go ahead and wipe off the bits that broke off. Okay. Alright, so here's where our tape comes in handy, and why I went ahead and I picked this clear one, because you won't see it. We're going to tape a little bit, about an inch or so, across on the side of our container. Go across to the other side. Again, trim off about an inch. And we're going to take that, and we're just going to make a few of these little crisscrossy way of putting our tape on here. And this is just to keep that floral foam in our container, so in case it falls over, it won't come out and all the flowers go flying everywhere. This will keep the foam in there with the flowers inside of it. Now that doesn't mean that the flowers might not come off on their own. They could. This is just a little bit of a, just a little security. So maybe like if you're transferring this over to somebody else, okay? Okay, so we don't want to completely put tape and cover everything. We want to leave some spaces where we can insert our stems into, so make sure that you don't over tape it. I'm just going to put one more going this way. I don't really think I need it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. There we go, just like that. Alright, so I've popped open my flowers here so that I can see what I have. What I like to do is, when I buy an assortment of flowers like this in a bouquet like this, I like to separate the flowers so that I know exactly what I have and I'll know what I want to grab. So that's what I'm going to do first, and then as soon as we're back, you're going to see these separated. Alright, so here you can see the assortment of flowers that I have. Like I said, I've had these a couple of days now. Actually, it's been 4 days. And I meant to do this on Sunday. This is already Tuesday. But some of my flowers are starting to get a little bit, a little bit aged. So you want to make sure you get your flowers fresh and use them the same day or the next day. Okay, here's some beautifuls and some greens. A nice little stem of purples. That was the only one in there. Some pretty little white daisies, and then those lovely kind of eggplant fuchsia kind of little flowers. Okay, so I'm deciding that because these are probably my biggest flower, I'm going to use that as my focal. I also have these kind of lilies right here, really pretty. Alright, so let's start making an arrangement. Now, with any other arrangement that I do with silk flowers, I'm going to use the same rules as to deciding the shape, the height, and the diameter and so forth. With this one, I want to do a pretty low centerpiece type of arrangement. I've got quite a few flowers, and I'm pretty sure it'll fill this. As you saw in the bouquet, it was kind of big, so I'm pretty sure it's going to fill this really nicely. I don't want to go too high, and the reason is because I would like this to go in the middle of a table where maybe we're all sitting and we can look across each other over the arrangement, and the arrangement won't be, maybe hiding somebody's face. So I'm going to keep that in mind. Of course, if you're going to put this somewhere that it's not going to do that, you can go a lot higher. But of course, the higher you go, the more flowers you may need, or maybe you need to purchase some fresh greens as well, or some greenery leaves. Okay, so before I start putting flowers, I want to make sure that I remove anything that seems like, okay, it's past, it's a little bit mushy, or just a little too wilted. So I'm going to remove the bottom leaves off of here, and with my clean scissors, I'm going to decide where I need to cut this now. When I cut this, I'm going to cut this to be long enough to stick in there. Now, usually with fresh flowers, 1.5 inches, 2 inches is fine, but with silk flowers, 1.5 inches to 2 inches is fine. But with a fresh flower, you want to cut a little bit longer. You want to make sure you get it into your oasis so that it is absorbing some of that water that is in there. Of course, ever so often you can feel, and if your oasis feels a little dry, especially the top part here, just pour a little bit more water so that it gets absorbed in there. And that's to keep your flowers, fresher longer. Alright, so I'm going to compare to the side of my pot. So I'm holding it on the edge of the table here so I can move my stem up and down. And this is a pretty high, so if I go any lower, these flowers are going to pretty much get hidden. So I'm going to go ahead and just honor this height of the flowers to here, and then give it an extra length. And I like to cut it in a diagonal. To be honest with you, I don't know if it makes any difference cutting it a diagonal or just flat, but just make sure your scissors are clean. Okay, these are going to go right in the middle, and I'll move the camera so that you can see the height of this arrangement. And I want to make sure that, I'm putting it into the oasis, and, there is no tape in the way. If I have to move the tape and restation it, I will. So I'm pushing it as far as I felt. So I decided that the flowers ended here, and I needed a little bit extra length, and then whatever extra was going to go in there. So I'm just going to push it down to the point that I had decided the flowers should stick out. Alright, so there we go. I think it looks beautiful already with just these flowers in there. Now normally I like to do things in threes, and I only have one more stem of these, and if I put them in there, it's going to be kind of, you know, it's not going to be even. So I'm going to do something that I don't normally do, because I do have an even number of these rather than an odd number. Well, if I had 4, I would only use 3. I like to work with odd numbers. Okay, so I'm going to move this forward, and I'm using this flower here, this big flower here, as the, you know, would be the front of my, you know, what you would see. There's the other one. Of course, these are the sides here. So I'm using that. So I'm moving it to the front, and I'm going to take the other one and do the same thing, where I considered, let's take this bottom leaf off, where I considered like this is the point where it would be at the top, you know, resting on the oasis. So I want to give it enough length to go in there and make sure that it does get water. So trim that off. You want to make sure that it's, you know, not longer than your pot, because otherwise you're going to hit the bottom. Okay, so now we're going to put this one opposite of that one, and I'm going to put it right in there. You don't want it facing this other way. Okay, now let's put it in there. Be gentle, we don't break our stems. Never so often I clean my scissors. The packet of these do come with these, what is this? It is a preservative, I guess, to help the flowers, you know, last a little bit longer. You could actually sprinkle this in the water, mix it around when you're absorbing it into the oasis. I should have done that. I didn't. I didn't even put them in the water where I kept them in. So they may have been a little bit nicer than they are now. So you want to use this stuff. It's nice flower food. I may go ahead and dilute it in some water and use it as I'm watering. Okay, let's go on to the next choice of flowers. Okay, so I have these, and these kind of, you know, kind of go down a little bit. This is a little bit wilted. I'm going to go ahead and use the fact that it is wilting, and I had to trim off a part where it was getting really mushy. So I'm just going to cut that again, and I'm going to insert this into the side now, because this is a soft material. This stem here is kind of soft. I'm going to go ahead and start the hole with my finger, and if I have to use a little dowel rod, I will. Or you could just use another stem, poke a little hole, and put your flower in there. Let me go a little bit deeper. I want to make sure that I get it in there. There we go. I'm going to put these on the sides because they will kind of hang out to the sides here. Do the same with this one. My finger was a little too chunky for that hole to hold this one, so you know what, I'm going to trade them, because this one's got a thinner stem on it. Yeah, it is thinner. I can tell because I couldn't push it all the way in. There we go. Let me put this one in the smaller hole, and then this one in this other. And there we go. I can't push it too much more, because I'll squeeze the stem and I'll end up harming it. So make sure you do this gently when you're working with fresh flowers. So see, I've created a little bit of hang about. I'm feeling like this was a little too much, so I am going to gently pull it out and trim a little bit more. Let's get that in there. There we go. I feel like this is a little bit more even to the length here. So that's all I'm deciding. Okay, I want to do the same on these sides here, where it also hangs over. And I've got 2 of these. So I think I'm going to use this one to hang here. And I'm just basically kind of like, okay, where is this going to go in my arrangement? You know, where is it going to fit? Let's go and trim this right here. And I'm going to go at an angle here. And put that right in there. I'm going to push it as far as I can. This is one that's similar. And I want to do the same thing, so I'm going to hold it at the same angle and trim it. And of course remove any leaves that we don't want in there. And I'm kind of crisscrossing over on the tape here. This is what I'm forming, you guys. Okay, but I do want this a little bit further in. It's too long. There we go. And I put it at an angle because I don't want it shooting straight up. I want to create this roundness. Okay, so now that I've got all these flowers in here, I can go ahead and start inserting flowers in between. Some that are, you know, hanging off of these four corners, two in the front, two would be the back, but of course, because it's a centerpiece, there's really no front and back, but I'm considering these flowers as a front and back, just so that I can keep track of what I'm doing in my arrangement. Okay, so like I said, we're going to fill in, and we're just going to make sure that we stay within the parameters, not to go any further out than these flowers or these, or no higher than this one. The only exception that I'm going to make is this purple one, because it is the only one, and I want to put that right in the middle. So I've just trimmed that, gently move my flowers out of the way, and then I'm going to press this right in the middle. See right there? All right, let's continue filling this, and hopefully we will have this all nicely filled so that I don't have to go out and buy any floral greenery, but we'll see. Okay, I have a rose here that's, the stem has been broken because I did get it a little bit bad there. So I'm going to trim it right where it's broken and put these roses in the corners, and I'm picking the ones that are not as open or as big because I do have a big cluster of flowers right here. And again, I am going to be inserting these at an angle. There we go. And then I'll do the other two in the back here, mirroring this front. And I'll continue filling my arrangement. Between these roses, I'm going to put these two yellow flowers. That's how I'm deciding my placement, because I'm just deciding, like, well, how many flowers do I have? What can I put in there? And again, this is not coming out any further than this or any further than this. There we go. That'll break up all the red right here. I'll do the same on this side between these two roses, or, you know, close to this here. Okay, there we go. Really pretty. That yellow is really adding a nice brightness to the arrangement. Of course, I've got more of those yellow flowers, and I have more in white, and these little pretty kind of a light eggplant or fuchsia. I don't know what you want to call it. Okay, I'm going to go and start putting these in there. And let's see. I've got 1, 2, 3 stems, but they don't really have a lot in them. I'm going to cut these short. I'm going to cut this one right here so that I have 2 pieces like that. And I do want to cut them short, like I said, and then of course remove some leaves at the bottom, maybe a stem, little flower, remove that. I'm going to put this here in the front, again to add another color and break, you know, all this purple here. Oh, red, I'm sorry, to break all that red. And then I'll do the same on this other side, on each side of these, or in between these reds here. Okay. Oops, goes over here. Okay, these whites are kind of broken up quite a bit. So I'm just going to remove what's broken and basically left with just a few little flowers up here. Let's see what I have here. Take off all these little wilted leaves. We don't want them. We don't want them stealing energy from the other items that are still holding strong. Let's trim off the little sticks. I'm going to put this over this yellow flower here. Fill in that spot. Let's do this one. Beautiful. And then use these two smaller ones. Wait, let me trim it a little bit more so it'll go in or be lower in my arrangement. And I just decided to kind of put them in there. It doesn't have to make any sense now where I'm putting flowers. I just want to make sure that I fill in any empty spots. Gorgeous. All right, I've got more. This is filling up nicely, you guys. Now, once you get all your flowers in there, and if you don't see your oasis, if your oasis is hidden up pretty good, I mean, you'd have to like really look in there to see it. And since it's green and I've got clear tape, I mean, it doesn't look bad if I see a little bit of it. Then you can skip the whole Spanish moss, or you know, your green moss. You don't have to put that in there. Look at these little flowers, they're so pretty. I don't even want to throw them out. So let me see if I can at least insert the short little stems in there somewhere. Why not? We're going to use every little flower that we have. Oops, this one's broken. We're going to have to make it even shorter. Wait, can't get in there. There we go. And then I've got these that I can also use. Let's see. Here's a space where I could put some. And then I've got all these small ones. Make sure you remove those leaves, because once you poke them in, they're going to be laying in that wet moss or that wet oasis, wet foam, whatever you want to call it, and they'll get all, you know, mushy. All right, let's add these in here somewhere. I'll do one at a time. I'm just filling in little spaces just to make sure that, you know, we don't see that oasis so much. And one of my little daisies is already losing a bunch of little petals. One more right here. It's beautiful. All right. Let's go ahead and use these yellows, and then I'm going to go ahead and add whatever little bit of greens I have right here. Gorgeous. want to make sure I don't hide like the main flowers, which are these right here, and of course our roses that are coming out. Got a few of these little yellow ones that again I'll stick at the bottom just to kind of hide the oasis. I think I'm doing a pretty good job here of hiding the oasis, so I think that's good enough. Okay, now I've got these. Remove all these leaves so we can see what we've got going here. We don't need the bulk in the middle, so we remove those. We sacrifice those. I think I'm going to have these coming out like kind of under this to kind of cradle these flowers. Don't know how long I need it, so I'm just going to cut it at a certain point, and then I'm going to see what I need. Okay, I need to cut it a little bit more. There we go. And lay that flower on top of it. Look how beautiful that looks already. Oh my goodness. All right, one more over here. Get these leaves. Don't be in a rush like I am. I'm just getting the kind of like leaves that are already wilted because, like I said, you don't want them stealing energy from the other leaves, so you want to make sure you do that. And you check your arrangement ever so often and do the same. Wow, I love it. And I've got these. And I'm going to stick it right down the center, the middle. Wait, let's trim off a little bit because I feel like, let's take this one off. Okay. Let's see how far I can push it in. Can't get my hand in there too far. You know what? I need to cut it like really, really low. And then just kind of make my way in there sideways. It's not like giving me any room to do that. Okay, let's get that in there. Is it in there? Yeah, I can't pull it out, so it's in there. And I had another piece like this one that fell off, so I'm just gonna trim these short, put one in the front here, or the back. Okay, pick the other one off the floor. It's not necessary, but you know what? I have the little piece, so I'm going to stick it in there. And there we go. All right, so the last step, if needed, would be to take some green moss or Spanish moss, whatever you want to use. I just prefer the green moss. Maybe to tuck it in there in little spots wherever you see your oasis. Now, my arrangement is pretty darn good. I don't really need any. I am just going to tuck some in the very edges here. Very, very, very edges. I want to be able to see that the oasis a little bit. So I'm going to leave some spots here open so that I can push my finger in there and feel around and to make sure that it is not dried up. I want to make sure that I can have a place where I can reach in and get some water in there. Okay, but that is enough. I don't need to add any more. Of course, last step would be for me to just completely wipe down my workstation here with more, kind of a cleanser. I'll just use the alcohol to wipe it down. And there we go, you guys. My arrangement is complete. So what do you think? Look at that. Beautiful. And I think it has a lovely shape as well. It makes a really nice centerpiece. I didn't stay low like I said I was going to do. I wanted to stay really low to put it at a table where we could sit down and look across each other. This is obviously not going to work for that. My whole arrangement changed in shape and size only because of the flowers. But anyway, this looks beautiful on top of a little counter like that. Beautiful. Take it to mom. Put it in a nice table, maybe where she sits, maybe on her kitchen island, wherever you would like it. Make sure to tell her, hey mom, make sure you put some water in there. Give her that little packet of flower food, or what was it called? Plant food. Anyway, this is my arrangement. I'm very happy with it, everyone. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up. If you're watching my videos and you like my content and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel by hitting that red subscribe button. And of course, you also want to go ahead and choose all for your notifications. I like to do that so that I get notified of all the videos, the ones that I'm subscribed to. As soon as they upload, you'll be able to know, I'll be able to know. So I'm asking you to please do that for my videos as well. Alright, so there we go, everyone, and so make sure, again, leave a nice comment down below if you have any suggestions for any future videos, anything you'd like to see, and if I'm able to do it, I would be more than happy to follow your suggestion. Alright, everyone, thank you again for watching my videos. Have a super week, have a super weekend. Happy Mother's Day to you, and as always, enjoy.